The transport station at Verelion Prime buzzed with species from every corner of the galaxy. Slithering Drexians, hovering Silpher, chittering Mechanites, all navigating the neon-lit concourse in pursuit of commerce, companionship, or conquest. Amid the crowds, one figure moved carefully, trying not to draw attention, yet utterly failing. Zara, a young female of the Titanari species, stood over 12 feet tall and weighed more than a terrestrial transport freighter. Her blue-violet skin shimmered faintly in the ambient glow, and her 6 golden eyes darted left and right, anxiously scanning for a safe corner to vanish into. Even among aliens, she was colossal, an accidental spectacle. The Titanari were known for their immense stature and brute strength. Their homeworld, Nixon, was a high-gravity planet, and over millennia, their bodies evolved into living fortresses. But while Titanari males were prized as mercenaries, miners, and enforcers across the galaxy, females were often dismissed. Too large, too intimidating, and by some standards, too much. Zara had tried for years to find a partner to belong. But every listing in the Intergalactic Companionship Registry rejected her. Prospective mates wanted petite, manageable, or at most, slightly athletic. No one wanted a mate who could lift a boulder or crush a steel door with a flick of her wrist. She had thought about giving up. Going back to Nixon, where she'd spend her days guarding volcanic forges or training hatchlings who barely reached her knees. A lonely future but predictable. But something pulled her to Verelion Prime. A listing buried deep in the registry's less trafficked sectors. Human male seeking connection. Size and species irrelevant. Must be kind. Must be real. Zara had stared at the message for days. Humans were a mystery. New to the interstellar community, they were small, barely past 6 feet, but fiercely adaptive, and emotionally strange. They valued vulnerability, humor, even flaws. Could this be real? Or was it another cruel joke? She had sent a reply. I am Zara. I am not what most want. I am not small. I am not soft. But I am real. 2 days later the human replied. I'm Dax. Let's meet. You sound exactly like someone I'd want to know. Zara waited near Docking Bay 7, her heart pounding. She kept her head low, trying to hide her bulk behind a metallic cargo crate. Then she saw him. Dax was average by human standards, maybe 5'9". Wavy brown hair. Kind if slightly awkward smile. He walked with an easy gait, dressed in simple cargo gear and a tattered gray jacket with a faded earth patch on the sleeve. He spotted her instantly. Instead of recoiling like many others had, he approached with calm eyes and a gentle nod. You're Zara. She nodded slowly, preparing herself for the usual excuses. Sorry, I didn't know you'd be this big. This is too much. This was a mistake. But instead, he said, You're magnificent. Her throat tightened. You don't have to say that. I don't, he said, stepping closer. But I mean it. She blinked all 6 eyes at him. You're not afraid. He tilted his head. Should I be? I could crush you by accident. Dax laughed. Most relationships end that way anyway. At least this one would be literal. Zara stared, then let out a rumble that might have been a laugh. She hadn't smiled in months. Over the next week, they explored Verelion Prime together. Despite the stares, Dax walked beside her proudly, telling corny Earth jokes and asking endless questions about her world. What's it like living on a high-gravity planet? Do Titanari dream? What do you eat? Please don't say humans. Zara found herself laughing often, something that once felt foreign. Dax didn't just tolerate her size. He celebrated it. When she lifted a collapsed vendor stand to rescue a trapped child, Dax beamed like a proud partner. When she caught a runaway hoverpod with one hand, he said, "See, you're amazing." But not everyone shared his admiration. One evening, as they left a market, a group of Dracian enforcers blocked their path. "Is this your pet?" one growled, eyeing Zara. Dax stepped forward unfazed. "She's my partner. And you're in our way." The Drexians laughed. "Partner? You sure she doesn't carry you around in her pocket?" Zara's muscles tensed, but Dax placed a gentle hand on her lower arm. "We're leaving," he said firmly. "Don't mistake her size for submission. She could flatten your skulls if she wanted." The Drexians snarled but didn't move. Zara leaned forward, eyes glowing. "Do you want to test that theory?" she asked softly. They scattered. Later, Dax turned to her. "I'm sorry you've had to deal with that your whole life." Zara looked down. "I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be. But good things are fragile." The Galactic Council had long imposed restrictions on mixed species bonding, especially when size disparity posed a potential risk. The news hit fast. A new ruling prohibited cross-species companionships without council vetting and approval. The reason given was safety. In truth, it was bias wrapped in bureaucracy. Zara received a notice. Her application with Dax had been denied. They were to cease cohabitation and public interaction or face relocation. She felt like she'd been split open. "I'll appeal," Dax said, his jaw tight. "They won't listen. I'm not what they want." Zara's voice cracked. "Then let's give them a reason to listen." Dax contacted an old friend, Juno, a cyber journalist with a following across 3 sectors. They recorded an interview. Zara speaking her truth, her voice resonant with pain, strength, and dignity. "I don't want to be feared. I don't want to be praised for lifting buildings or breaking walls. I want to be seen. I want to be loved." The video went viral. Within days, messages flooded in. Titanari females across the galaxy thanked her. Small species spoke of their own relationship struggles. Even humans on Earth chimed in, some confused, others supportive. The council summoned them. Dax and Zara stood before the towering council dais, surrounded by beings who barely concealed their discomfort. "You understand the concerns?" the lead adjudicator asked. "A being of her size could pose a lethal threat." "So could anyone with a blaster," Dax replied. "Yet we allow them in public. Her emotions are valid, are real. And she controls them better than most of you." Zara stepped forward. "You assume size is the danger. It's not. The danger is a society that values smallness in form and in spirit. I will not shrink to make you comfortable." Silence filled the chamber. Then the vote came. It was close, but in their favor. A year later, Zara and Dax lived together on a research vessel orbiting the gas giant Temerex. Dax served as a cultural ambassador. Zara trained cadets in emergency rescue protocols, showing them how strength could serve compassion. Their bond became a symbol of change, of defiance, of possibility. They sat under the simulated stars one evening, watching the twin moons rise over the vessel's dome. "You remember when we first met?" Dax asked. Zara smiled, her voice soft. "I thought you were mad. I still might be." She leaned down, resting her forehead against his. "But you're my kind of mad." Dax chuckled. "You're still the only one who's ever called me that. Then let's make it a tradition." And so they did.